So, reflecting on today's Premier League game at home against Wolves. So, thoughts going into the game, I was just hoping we would bounce back from that defeat from last week with a big performance and a big win. So thoughts on the starting lineup? Happy with the starting lineup today. Strong starting lineup. It was great to have Saliba, Timber, and Rice back in the starting lineup. It's also good to see Eze and Gyökeres get starts. Thoughts on the first half? It was a very underwhelming first half. On the ball, very slow. We looked like we were lacking ideas. The movement off the ball wasn't quite there. It was a really disappointing first half. We almost went 1-0 down at half time, but thanks to Real, who made a great save, kept it at 0-0 at half time. But yeah, it was a very disappointing first half. And I was just hoping at half time we need to really up it in the second half. We need a big performance from the boys, and go out and get the win in the second half. Second half, thoughts on the second half. We did up the tempo. We went 1-0 up, but then later on, towards the end of the game, conceded a goal. Came out of nowhere. Everyone was in absolute shock. 1-1. And I was thinking, oh no, not another draw. Can't afford to draw. Can't afford to drop any points with City on our shoulders. But thankfully, Saka, his direct, his intent, constantly putting crosses in the box, forced another own goal, and it made it 2-1 to the Arsenal. Giving us a massive 3 points. We made hard work of that game, but we managed to get the win. It's what matters. So yeah, analysing the players' performances, obviously Raya made that great save in the first half, to keep us 0-0 at half time. Thought we had a comfortable game today. Defence, Ben White, was doing well before he came off. Again, yet another injury. When will it stop? MLS came on for him. I thought he had an average game. It's good to have Saliba and Timber back in the game. At centre back they did well. An average game. But Capes at left back, he had an average game too. So defensively we were okay today. Wasn't troubled too much. Had a comfortable game. And missing Gabriel. We're missing Gabriel, I tell you. Zubimendi and Rice, I thought, controlled the midfield today. However, I did feel it was an average performance today. Eze in the number 10 again didn't really have the effect we was hoping in the game. It was a bit casual on the ball today. Didn't have the best game today. Odegaard came on for him in the second half. Again tried to make things happen. Had a quieter game today than usual. And Marino also came on later. Had a quiet game today. Attacking wise, I thought Saka was the best of the front three today. He was lively. He's always direct attacking. Trying to take on his man, trying to put balls into the box. Thought he was the best of the front three today. Forcing those 2 own goals as well. He deserved man of the match today for me. Gyökeres again today. Unfortunately, didn't have the impact we was hoping today. I can't recall him having any shots on goal. I feel he did try to get into the right positions. I feel we need to find a way of playing to his strengths. And I'm aware that when you play against teams that put three centre backs, 3 at the back, against one striker, I'm aware that that's difficult, for Gyökeres to get space to score. I think we need to work on finding a solution, how best to play to Gyökeres' strengths, and Gyökeres still needs to get used to playing with Arsenal. So yeah, but I'm hoping, he needs a goal. We need to also get behind him, and hopefully soon. All it takes is one goal to get his confidence back, and hopefully he'll kick on from there. Martinelli today, I thought, he had a good game. He tried to make things happen. He nearly scored on a couple of occasions. Probably should have scored, with the header from that corner, and also, the chance at the end before he came off for Trossard. And Trossard came on, tried to make things happen, but it was a quiet game from him today. And Jesus came on for Gyökeres much later on in the game. Brought fresh energy to the team. I thought it was his goal, but it was an own goal. But his presence and energy, made a difference. May have contributed to that goal. So yeah, I mentioned before, my man of the match today, Saka, mainly due to the fact that he forced the 2 own goals that got us the win and got us the much important 3 points. And yeah, a bit of analysis on Wolves. You could see they came with a game plan, 5 at the back. Every player seemed to be, in their own half, behind the ball. they made it difficult to us, to be fair to them, and they almost caught us on the counter. So their game plan almost worked. And yeah, just reflecting on their summer window, they let Cunha, their best player, go. And then they made a few signings. They brought in players that didn't have much Premier League experience. So it's always a risk going into a new Premier League season. I felt they were the unknown quantity this season, and I did feel they would struggle this season to stay up in the league. And it's proven to be the case. But they could still potentially turn it around. But yeah, I thought they came to the Emirates, and had a good go, and they made it difficult for us. So you've got to give credit where credit's due. And yeah, next game we're back in Premier League action next week Saturday, away against Everton in their new stadium. So it's a new experience for the players. We've never been there to that stadium, so it's a new experience. It's going to be another tough away game against Everton. You're a strong team physically again, very strong. So we're going to have to be at our best if we want to get something from the game. Again, we need to win that game. With City on our shoulders, we need to keep building the momentum, hopefully cement our lead at the top of the league. And just like to say thank you to anyone that took the time to listen to tonight's reflections. I hope you could connect with some of the points I made. And last but not least, come on, you Gunners. Peace.